Kristen. I'm really glad that we decided to meet today.
That'd be great.
So we talked about before we started that we wanted to talk about the existence of God.
Right.
Because I know we've been going to church together for a long time, and we both believe in God, but it's hard to sometimes to explain to other people.
Yeah.
That like
it gets kind of awkward, like, because obviously I believe, but I don't know how to prove to someone else because everyone's so obsessed with proof. I feel like makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely understand. So we're gonna look at that today. We're gonna have some questions that we're gonna try to answer, and hopefully through these questions we can seek to prove, to learn to prove to others that God exists.
Right.
The existence of God. Okay. So first, if God does exist, what are some qualities that we could come up with that just describe a God?
I feel like he'd be all-knowing, because if he's a God, he created everything, so he knows everything.
Right.
Because how can you create something and not know anything about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see, what else? Everlasting, like time doesn't know him. It doesn't make sense. Like, he makes more... I don't know how to put that.
It's okay. He created time.
Yeah, he created time, so he lives beyond time, if that makes
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. A couple other things that I've come up with is that he's a spirit.
That makes sense.
He's also, we already said eternal, we said all-knowing, and I would also say God's all-powerful. If he created the universe, he must have so much power, right?
Right.
And also, he's everywhere. Like, he created it, so he must be in all things that he created. So I think a good way, there are two ways that we can use to prove something, and one is by observation, which would be very difficult to prove the existence of God. So we're gonna use by reasoning. So we're gonna move from effect to cause, so that so to see if the effects of the world can go back to see if they all point to God's existence.
That makes sense, because he would be the cause of the existence. Okay,
So we're going to try to find the cause of everything we see, right? Okay, so I think a good verse for us to start with today would be Romans 1:19 through 20. Do you want to read that?
Yeah.
Okay, I have it open for you right there.
Okay, you said 1:19 through 20?
Yeah.
Okay. Since what may be known about God is plain to them, because what God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, good job, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. Okay, yeah. So that's like saying that, like, God's power is clear to us. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. So it's pretty much, I take it to say that people should be able to see God and to see the world and definitively know that God exists.
Okay.
So if Paul writes this, then we should be able to prove the existence of God because of the world. And this is I think that's what Paul is trying to say in this verse. So I think a good jumping off point would be the universe exists. I think that's pretty basic, very observable. So we're going to start off with our questions now.
Okay.
I think a good way for us to keep track of where we are in all of these questions and to move from one question to the next is to kind of draw a little diagram. So we're going to draw a triangle in the corner over here, if you want to do that with me. We're just going to draw a little triangle.
How little? Okay.
It doesn't matter. You need to be able to write inside it.
Eh.
There you go. That's good.
Okay.
Okay. So our first question is, did the universe have a beginning?
Okay.
We're going to try to answer those questions with evidence. Yeah.
That That sounds difficult.
So in this triangle, let's write beginning, because that's a question we're trying to answer. Okay. And then under it, let's write our two options, yes and no. Okay. So there's a strong agreement among scientists that the universe wasn't always here, that it has a definitive beginning.
Right.
One scientist, his name is E. Hubble, says that galaxies are moving apart very quickly, and that because these galaxies are moving apart, if we go back in time, they must have been together at one point, which kind of points to a beginning.
Right.
Because they had to start moving away from one point. Right. Another scientist, his name is Dr. Jastrow, has decided that there must have been a definitive moment where the universe began to exist, where there's like flash of light and energy. Also, energy is being changed from a useful state to a non-useful state. So if everything had always existed, eventually there'd be no useful energy left.
Right, because it just burns it out.
Right. So if it starting one way and ending another, it must have had a beginning.
Okay. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah?
It has to have a beginning.
If it's changing.
Right.
Right, yeah. So there's also the second law of thermodynamics states that unattended systems tend to move toward chaos. So we can apply that to the universe.
Yeah.
For example, if the Earth was unattended, that had no hand to guide it, then it would be in chaos by now.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Can we agree that the universe had a beginning?
I would say yeah.
You
and those
so?
Arguments sounded pretty valid too.
Yeah, so. I agree. So let's circle yes under beginning and move on to our next question. Perfect, yeah. Let's draw a triangle right under yes. Because this is going to bring us to our next question. So did the universe begin with a plan? Since we've agreed that the universe has a beginning, did that beginning, did it have a plan for the creation?
Right. Okay, yeah.
So
we know it has a beginning, but we don't know if it was planned.
Right. Did it spontaneously begin, or was it purposefully began?
Right.
Okay. So let's write plan in our triangle, and then write yes or no underneath that, just like we did before. Okay. So what are some observations of the Earth that you can think of that would indicate it came from a plan?
Well, I don't know. I feel like there are very many conditions that the Earth is in, if that makes sense. Like I've always heard about how far away from the sun is really important, and gravity and stuff like that. And the Earth turns slowly to us, but it makes the right amount without throwing us off. I don't think that's a real thing, but
yeah, it has to be a specific way for us to stay alive. And I know we had a class on this a couple years ago in our youth group together that talked about this. So I know this is something that we've talked about. Just like you were saying, the distance from the sun, scientists say that if we were any closer, we would burn up, and if we were any farther away, we'd freeze. That kind of thing, just like you were saying. And gravity, if it was any heavier, it'd crush us. If it was any lighter, we'd fly off. You know? So there's just so many little details that go into making the Earth perfect for us to inhabit. That a doctor named Hugh Ross says that the possibility of all of these things coming together is actually 1 in 100 billion, trillion.
What?
Yeah.
That's a lot of trillions.
That's a lot of trillions. It's a very big number. I don't think I've ever heard a number
I
bigger
don't
than
think
that.
so either.
Can you think of anything like that we can observe whose complexity is so great that it couldn't have happened by accident? Like anything in a human that's really complex. Can you think of anything?
Wow, like all of it?
Yeah. Because I know we're both studying to be nurses, and all of the things we study are just
there are so many different things. Like neurons alone are crazy, the messages they send back and forth from the brain to the nerves. So that's a complex communication that I think, I mean, our body has electrical impulses, and our body's been doing that since before humans even knew how to use electricity. You know? What else? There's like, the eye is really complex. Like, there's so many different things. Can't remember half of them right now. But
yeah,
like, there's so many different things going on. So
I remember thinking in anatomy class that, wow, the body is so fragile yet so strong.
It's weird. Like
you would think if you mess up one thing, everything's gonna stop working right. But then
it just works.
But then it, like, you see people that go through terrible tragedies, and the body is able to heal itself. It's crazy how it does that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's insane.
There's another man named Sir Fred Hoyle that states, because of the complexity that's of the universe that's been discovered, that he believes you can completely rule out this happening by chance.
Right.
I don't know if you've studied this, but the nucleus of one human cell contains more information than all 30 volumes of the Encyclopedia Britannica put together.
Like the DNA and everything inside of it?
Yeah.
So that's insane. Like, I mean, I knew it was a lot, but I didn't know that much.
Yeah, we've always talked about it being a lot, but that really puts it into perspective.
30 volumes.
30 volumes, yeah, and it's an encyclopedia. It's not like a small little children's
dictionary or
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the people that take the no side of the plan question, they believe there was no plan for the beginning. They believe in the Big Bang Theory. I
mean, we talked about it a little bit, like, I don't know. It's Big Bang Theory. Let's see. I know there was a big flash or a sound or something, and
a big bang.
Yeah, and matter kind of just exploded and started spreading itself out slowly, and life started forming based on that, like, theory. And somehow
that, like,
I mean, it's an amazing theory almost, because it's like, this all started from a tiny little, we don't even know what, and developed all this, but I just don't know, like, how all of those definite little things could not be planned.
I completely agree with you. I also, where would that substance come from? If we agreed that there was a beginning, then this substance, did it exist out of the beginning? So if there was nothing, then there was no substance.
Right.
Yeah. And so how would there even be an explosion with nothing to explode? And then
kind of like the opposite of that existence argument we went through with, if it has always existed, it would eventually end, but if it just appeared, where did it come from?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And there's no evidence that supports that every material came from the same substance. Like,
that's true.
Yeah, everything is so diverse. How could it come from
the same way?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it sounds like we both agree on there was a plan.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's circle yes right there and move on to our next question. Okay. We're going to draw another triangle under that yes. And inside this one, we're going to write planner.
I should use my planner more often. Okay.
Can you think of any plan that didn't have someone who was behind that plan?
Oh, so this question is like, is there a planner or not?
Yeah, this is... Did I not say the question? I'm sorry.
No, that just makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Question 3, did the plan have a planner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't think of a single plan. I mean, you have, like, coaches plan out plays and directors plan out other kinds of plays. And so...
Yeah, and you're an RA and you plan events all the time.
Oh, my word, yes. So, yeah, those would not exist without, a plan or a couple of planners. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. There has to be a planner.
Mm-hmm. So those events that are planned ever so often for your dorm, someone had to sit down and create that plan. Right?
And carry that out.
Yeah. Okay. So can you think of some examples of plans that had a planner? I know we've already said a couple.
Mm-hmm. Some of those ones. Let me think of another one. Okay, well, like, weddings usually are planned somewhere. Yeah. Even if it's, like, a spur-of-the-moment thing, it's like, you have to agree that this is what's going to happen, so then you just run to the courthouse or something. Yeah. I'm just kidding. But most weddings have, like, huge plans. Mm-hmm.
You don't just say, I'm going to get married on this day and show up and it's there.
Yeah, no, you have to, like,
you have to sit down and plan it. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good example. So what do you think about this question? Did the plan have a planner?
Yeah, it's a yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not even going to try to argue it. Like,
I think that one's pretty easy to agree upon. Okay, so our next question, we've already drawn our triangle, is what must the planner of the universe be like? So in this one, we're going to write pre-existing.
Big words, okay.
Big words, yeah. Pre-existing force, question mark. So was there a pre-existing force that was the planner that created the plan for the beginning that we've already agreed on?
Right.
We're going to write yes and no. Okay. We're just going to go back for those definitions that we made earlier. So because this planner, he created matter. He created the universe. So if he existed out of the matter that he created, he must be a spirit.
Yeah, because, I don't know, I don't think matter can just create its other matter. Like, there's other energy going into that. So
right.
It's definitely a spirit. Okay, yeah.
The next one, he created time, right? So if someone who created time, he must exist out of time.
Right.
So since he created time, he must be eternal. Right. If he was constrained by time, I don't think he could create it.
Right.
Right?
Right. No. For someone to have created time, that makes sense because, I mean, obviously we're trying to prove the existence of God, but that makes more sense in other terms where it's like we don't understand God's timing. That's because he created it. He's beyond it. So that makes sense.
Right. Exactly. Also, since he existed outside of space, he must be everywhere, right?
Right.
If he created matter, he created the universe, he must have existed outside of that to create it.
Right. So he's not invading, but he has the ability to be inside the space that he's already created.
Right.
Because he has to have been outside it. Okay.
So he's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And since he must have had, to create all of the things that he has, and to know how exact everything had to be to create life, a sustainable life for us, he must be all-knowing. Now, all the knowledge we have put together could not add up to what he knows.
Right.
Right. Since he created this, right?
Right. That makes, he's all-knowing because he created all of the things that are to be known. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So he must know more than that, right? And he also, all the things he created are just, this planner created, are just so so incredible and so big.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just thinking about the complexity of an ecosystem working down to a tiny cell in a human that has, and everything has to be exact. Everything has to be perfect. He must have tremendous power to do all of this, to create all of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. So now let's look back on the attributes we said, if there is a God, the attributes he must have.
Oh, so like our definitions of God.
Yeah. I have them written down right here because I wrote those down as we went over them. Here they are. So we said that God must be a spirit, eternal, all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere.
That's everything we just said. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if the planner of the universe must have those attributes that we said, and the God that we said, God must have these attributes, then God must be the planner.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
This argument for God's existence it's called the cosmological argument, if you want to look that up later or anything.
How do you spell
Just
that?
get some more information. COSMO, cosmological.
Okay.
Logical.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Cosmological. Did you say theory?
Argument. And it's called this because it's based on observations of the world.
But it uses reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
So it uses both sets of proving. Good job. I could use this.
Yeah, I think this will be really helpful when trying to explain to other people that God must exist. Like it's not just that we want him to. It's
not. Yeah.
He has to.
There's no other
explanation.
No. Yeah.
Anyway, I really enjoyed studying
that
with you today.
Perfect. I could definitely use that.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you ever want to talk about anything again, we
should
meet up again and
definitely
talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
I loved it. Okay.